A major surprise just emerged from Starbase. SpaceX has made a critical modification to Ship 35 after recent testing problems. The company isn't slowing down. In fact, efforts have been intensified to stay aligned with their goal of launching later this year. Meanwhile, a decades-old Soviet Venus probe is falling back to Earth due to parachute damage, and on the Moon, NASA is working hard to recover its Lunar Trailblazer orbiter. With all these developments happening almost simultaneously, there's a lot to unpack today. So, let's dive straight into the latest updates in this episode of Great SpaceX. Just a few days ago, SpaceX carried out a crucial static fire test on Ship 35, an essential step in preparing for Flight 9. The test was powerful, but it wasn't flawless. Observers quickly noticed something was off with the engine behavior, and later analysis confirmed there were indeed issues. As a result, on May 2, Ship 35 was rolled back to the production site. At that time, many predicted modifications were coming, and they were right. SpaceX has now delivered a new engine to Starbase, presumably a Raptor vacuum engine, based on the crate's size and shape. This engine swap is clearly a strategic move to boost the reliability of Flight 9. Engine-related issues have haunted the last two Starship launches. During Flight 8, for example, internal footage showed a small flame inside the Raptor vacuum area just before several engines failed. That incident caused the ship to lose control and fail its mission. So this latest change is more than just routine maintenance. It's a focused effort to eliminate these recurring problems. SpaceX may also include improvements like better shielding, enhanced fire suppression, and refined venting systems as part of their fix strategy. Given how fast SpaceX typically works, the engine swap could already be done by the time you're watching this video. But even with the replacement complete, another static fire test is almost guaranteed. This test will validate the new engine and confirm that the entire system is flight-ready. If things move quickly, that static fire could happen as soon as this week. That would be a strong signal that Flight 9 is still on track to launch within May, which is an ambitious but increasingly realistic goal as we follow this timeline closely. There's more good news. Official navigation warnings have been issued for the Indian Ocean, the designated landing zone for Ship 35. These warnings, much like those issued before previous Starship flights, cover a 2-week launch window from May 9 to May 22. Local times suggest early morning flights, which would offer ideal viewing conditions for anyone watching the ship's descent. While a navigation warning doesn't confirm a launch date, it strongly hints at intent. So far, SpaceX and the FAA haven't confirmed anything officially, but this alert aligns well with a possible May launch. Now, looking at the timeline, a May 9 launch feels a bit aggressive, especially considering the recent engine setback. However, the latter half of the launch window looks promising, particularly the final few days. Based on the pace of repairs and preparations, my personal prediction lands on May 20. That fits comfortably within the 2-week range and gives SpaceX enough time to run critical tests and finalize all systems. What's your prediction? Let us know in the comments. With all eyes on Starbase, every day counts and every small update shifts expectations for the launch date. When the engine failure first came to light, I honestly thought SpaceX would need more time to investigate and correct the issue, possibly pushing Flight 9 into June. But the current momentum tells a different story. If the engine testing at the Massey site goes well this week, Ship 35 could soon return for final system integrations, like the flight termination system and any mission-specific payload. That process would likely take place between May 10 and May 15, allowing for everything to be in place just in time to keep the May launch plan alive. Once Ship 35 is ready, it will be rolled back to the launch pad for the final round of checks. At the same time, Booster 14 is showing strong progress too. It passed important inspections back in mid-April, and recent images confirm that its hot staging ring has been successfully installed. If things stay on schedule, Booster 14 could also be moved to the launch pad around May 15. When both stages are at the pad, SpaceX will stack the full Starship vehicle. That's when we'll enter the final preparation phase, including a full wet dress rehearsal. That final pre-launch phase, spanning from around May 15 to May 20, is where everything must go right. The timeline still supports the idea of a May 20 launch, which aligns with my earlier prediction. It's been over 2 months since the last Starship launch, and anticipation is growing with each passing day. All of SpaceX's efforts are now focused on making this next flight a success. If everything goes according to plan, Flight 9 won't just lift off. It could deliver a smooth mission that advances the Starship program significantly. If you're just as excited as I am to see Starship back in action, type "Here we go" in the comments. Let's get this countdown started together. And thank you to every single one of you who continues to support this channel. Thanks to your support, we recently passed the 170,000 subscriber milestone, an incredible achievement we couldn't have reached without your help. Every view, every like and every share makes this journey possible, and we're honored to have you with us. Now, with your help, we're aiming even higher. 200,000 subscribers is next. Your continued support will help us deliver even more comprehensive coverage of Starship's milestones and SpaceX's incredible journey to the stars. Stay tuned for future updates, and buckle in because this next launch could be one of the most important ones yet. Now let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a bizarre development from space history. A Soviet-era spacecraft that might finally be returning to Earth after more than 50 years in orbit. You heard that right. A forgotten Venus probe from the Cold War era is on its way back. Recent satellite tracking data and newly analyzed imagery suggest that Cosmos 482, a spacecraft launched by the Soviet Union in 1972, is finally re-entering Earth's atmosphere. This spacecraft was originally intended to travel to Venus and deploy a lander to explore its surface. However, due to a malfunction in the upper rocket stage during launch, the mission failed to escape Earth orbit. While most of the spacecraft broke apart or re-entered years ago, the Venus lander module has remained in orbit ever since, floating silently above us for over 5 decades. This lander wasn't an ordinary piece of equipment. It was built to survive Venus-crushing atmospheric pressure and extreme surface temperatures, which makes it incredibly resilient. In fact, its rugged design and high-grade thermal shielding were advanced even by modern standards. That's why this object has persisted in orbit for so long. Now, with its orbit decaying, the capsule is finally expected to fall back to Earth. While it's not a threat to the public, experts are monitoring the re-entry closely because of its robust build and unknown re-entry behavior. Surviving the fiery plunge through Earth's atmosphere is no small feat, but Cosmos 482 might just be up for the challenge. This isn't an ordinary piece of space debris. This was a Venus lander built to endure the planet's crushing atmosphere and blistering heat. So if anything could make it back to Earth in one piece, it's this. Dutch satellite tracker Marco Langbroek from SatTrackCam Leiden weighed in, noting that since the lander was engineered to survive entry into Venus's thick atmosphere, there's a real possibility it could survive Earth's re-entry as well. Still, he emphasized that many variables, especially the capsule's age and re-entry angle, leave room for uncertainty. Langbroek estimates re-entry will occur around May 10th, but he cautions there's a margin of error of plus or minus 2.2 days. That window means we need to keep an eye on the sky just a bit longer. Adding to the mystery, another Dutch satellite tracker, Ralph van den Berg, managed to capture high-resolution images of the lander as it orbits above. In his words, the sight was astonishing. A clearly visible, compact ball, possibly the body of the spacecraft. The object resembles a Starlink satellite bus, roughly 1.3 meters by 2.7 meters, but it orbits about 130 kilometers farther out. What surprised van den Berg wasn't just the object's clarity, it was what appeared in several frames. In some images he noticed a faint elongated structure attached to one side. While still inconclusive, he suspects it might be a partially deployed parachute. If true, it could mean the lander is slowly spinning or tumbling, occasionally revealing this dangling remnant in brief flashes. That detail, if confirmed, adds another fascinating layer to this spacecraft's incredible longevity and resilience after half a century in orbit. The implications of recovering this spacecraft go far beyond the historical novelty. If Cosmos 482 manages to survive re-entry and is retrieved, scientists could gain priceless information about how space materials age in the harsh environment beyond Earth. After decades exposed to radiation, micrometeoroids, and temperature extremes, every nut, bolt, and circuit could tell us something about spacecraft durability. This kind of data could significantly inform the engineering of future long-duration missions, especially for probes traveling to the outer planets or even interstellar space. But there's another, more scientific layer to this mystery: Venus. Our neighboring planet has long been called Earth's twin due to its similar size and composition. Yet the two worlds evolved in drastically different ways. Venus is now a hellscape, with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead and an atmosphere thick with carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid clouds. Studying any part of Cosmos 482 built to survive those conditions could help scientists better design the next generation of Venus landers, and perhaps figure out how Venus turned so hostile. Understanding Venus isn't just about curiosity, it's a mirror that might reflect Earth's own potential future. If we can unlock why Venus became so inhospitable, it might offer critical clues about how climate dynamics work on Earth. Learning from our twins' downfall could guide policy, science, and technology on our home planet. But first, we have to see if this tough little capsule survives its blazing descent. Will its titanium armor hold up? Will we be able to retrieve it intact for analysis? That's what space fans and scientists alike are anxiously watching for in the days ahead. And while the return of Cosmos 482 has captured global attention, it's not the only major story in space exploration this month. Let's shift our focus briefly to another mission, this one targeting the Moon. NASA's IM-2 mission, which includes the ambitious Lunar Trailblazer orbiter, has run into serious trouble. Launched aboard a Falcon 9 rocket on February 26, the orbiter was intended to study the Moon's surface water. But just a day after deployment, the spacecraft encountered a critical failure. It couldn't orient itself toward the Sun. Without the correct orientation, its solar panels failed to generate enough power to keep the systems alive. For days, scientists feared the worst. But hope remains. In a recent public update released on April 30th, NASA explained that the solar lighting conditions on the Moon are expected to improve between early May and mid-June. These better lighting conditions could be enough to recharge the spacecraft's batteries. If successful, it might be possible to re-establish communication and bring the mission back from the brink. The agency noted that if they can re-establish command over the spacecraft, thaw its propulsion systems, and confirm that its instruments are still operational, there's a good chance the mission can continue. The goal would be to place the orbiter in an elliptical lunar orbit and resume its scientific objectives. For now, NASA is using ground-based tracking systems to locate the spacecraft and confirm its orientation. If they succeed, the mission could still be salvaged. But if not, a decision will be made in June on whether to proceed or call it off entirely. What's at stake is more than just a $94 million mission. It's the future of lunar science and resource mapping. The Lunar Trailblazer was designed to locate and study water ice on the Moon, a crucial resource for any future sustained presence on the lunar surface. Whether for human consumption, fuel production, or habitat systems, water is the key to unlocking a new era of lunar exploration. And if the Trailblazer orbiter is revived, it may even be tasked with new science goals, broadening its impact beyond the original mission scope. Right now, we're in a tense waiting period. NASA engineers are working around the clock, hoping that the changing sunlight will breathe new life into the spacecraft. It's a moment that showcases both the fragility and resilience of space exploration. With one piece of Soviet hardware potentially returning from orbit after 50 years, and a modern NASA probe hanging in the balance just days into its mission, we're reminded of the razor's edge that defines space science. But sometimes all it takes is a bit of sunlight, and a lot of determination, for a second chance. That wraps up our deep dive into two extraordinary space stories, one rooted in Cold War history, and the other unfolding right now as we push forward toward the Moon. Whether it's relics returning from the past or missions facing challenges in the present, space exploration never stops surprising us. This has been Kevin with Great SpaceX. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more updates, and remember, curiosity, imagination, and inspiration will always follow you as long as you keep looking up.